been there, and I was there today. One candidate chose not to show up. Okay, so just wanted to clarify that three of the four candidates were in the classroom talking to, so it wasn't just me in the classroom politicking, so I think that's quite unfair to categorize that as if that I was the only one that was in there. In terms of a digital officer, and I think that question is really more about tell the audience about the candidate and your background. So as my background, I've been the MP for the past 6 years. I also served on Burquitlam City Council for 7 years. I was a labor market analyst for the federal government. I've also been running a non-profit organization in the past called the Rivershed Society of BC. I'm now volunteering for that. I've done lots in terms of volunteering in the community for the 25 years that I've been active. So that's a little bit about me.
I think Mrs. Adcock's answer to that question is probably more thorough than I could ever be, so let that stand. The one thing that when it was talked about this issue, and something that's come up at the doorsteps, is this transition from a lot of pen and paper forms, especially when you're interacting with government, to finding new online solutions. And it's something that we do have to pay a lot of attention to. It's something I'm very much aware of, having grown up on social media, grown up online, yet worked in the military and worked with veterans who are often in their 80s or 90s. There's no way they can move to the online age, and yet the younger generation demanded that online availability is there. So finding that balance is something I'm going to pay particular attention to if I'm elected as your next MP.
A reminder to the people in the back, please put your cell phone on mute. If it's bothering them at the back and they have to text me, they're going to start throwing things at me. It gets ugly. So everybody, put your cell phone on mute, please. This question, we're going to start with Tim, and we'll go back to you to start with. The question is, 900,000 Canadians now depend on food banks every month. How has this been allowed to happen in one of the richest countries on earth, and how would your party change the situation?
So the question comes down to social services, like the food bank, and many other social services that are out there, that those who are less fortunate, those who have, for whatever reason, come across troubling times through a disability or having to come home and take care of a family member. How do we best take care of them? One thing that our party has done is allowed for parents who are taking care of a sick child to go onto EI benefits for a longer duration of time. For the food bank specifically, here in the Tri-Cities, I know there's a lot of work done, especially in Port Moody, and growing up here, we've always donated and made sure to help those social programs. And having myself also run a nonprofit organization, we know there's always going to be gaps in government services. And as a government, you want to try and eliminate those whenever they're there, but we also know we do want to cooperate with many of the social programs, the faith communities, organizations like this, if they have a role to play in helping meet the needs of those who are a little bit less fortunate.
I would pose the question, why in a country with such bountiful resources, with such advanced productive capacity, is there even a need for food banks? So I'll answer my own question. It's because of the food monopolies. In this country, wholesaling and retailing of food is under the domination of a handful of big food monopolies, the largest being Weston Loblaws. There's also Sobeys, and in BC we have Jimmy Pattison. There's also others, Whole Foods and IGA London Drugs. So we would propose, as I said earlier, there should be expansion of public corporations and public enterprises. So how about a publicly owned and operated and controlled company that oversees retailing, food retailing, that takes the pricing away from these companies and sets prices that are affordable for all the people.
There really is no excuse. We're in a crisis situation when a country like ours can't afford to feed everybody. Part of the challenge is that we don't have enough of a growth in our economy to have more people join the middle class. I think that some of the tough decisions that we need to make are decisions like the cancellation of income splitting. income splitting and the cancellation of it, not for seniors. We will keep it for seniors. So if you hear that we're canceling it for pensioners, that's not true. But for the top 15% of earners, that costs the Canadian economy $2 billion. We'll be taking that $2 billion and we'll be giving it to families that need more. Under the Liberal plan, 9 out of 10 families will get more money because the child benefit that they will get will not be taxable like the one that they get now. That is going to lift 315,000 children out of poverty. And that's what we need to do. We need to create more opportunity for our kids. We need to make sure that the economy grows. And that's why we have put forward this deficit plan. It's a capital investment in our future. It's not an operating deficit. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create new industries. There's new programs for kids to be able to take skills training and the creation, the reestablishment of summer youth job programs. We need to create more opportunity for our children so that we don't create more people who aren't part of a healthy, thriving middle class. And that's the key, is let's make the economy bigger so that people don't have to figure out how to make ends meet and how to pay for their rent and how to pay for their food, because there's no excuse for it.
I agree with many of the things already. Where I see, of course, we from is memory. Affordability is an issue, and that needs to be addressed. That begins with housing, with transportation, with everything, really. And a large group affected by this whole thing are seniors. So CPP is covering 25% of income, and we would like to see it rising to 50%. That gives you a much better chance, actually, to meet month's end. And so there is no need for people, there should be no need for people to line up at food banks. It's fantastic that they're out there, but I think there is a better way to actually take care of it and take care of our people. Thank you.
Why in a country as rich as Canada do we have that many people needing the food banks? Obviously we have an issue of poverty in the country. BC has the highest rates of child poverty. This is unacceptable. So what would an NDP government do? We'd focus on at least 4 things. Affordable daycare, childcare, $15 a day. That would help many families, including women. We'd help with affordable housing. Housing is one of the biggest costs across the country, so we focus on co-ops and affordable housing. And healthcare, huge cost for many people. If you can provide prescription drugs and generic drugs, you can save under our plan, we would save $3 billion. And seniors, Talmud Care and the NDP is committed to lift 200,000 seniors out of poverty with a slight lift to the GIS. That's just 4 ways that an NDP government would help address the systemic issue of poverty that we still face in a country as rich as ours, in Canada.
Okay, Brian, we're going to start with you on this one, please. Canadian scientists now need to have government permission before they can freely speak out about their I don't even know what that says, about something to do with their paper. Their taxpayer-funded work. How would you reverse the unprecedented muzzling of science in Canada?
It's simply criminal that the scientists are not allowed to do their work. I mean, in this day and age, we need science on every facet of our life. And to muzzle scientists, to lay them off, I see pictures of libraries being ripped up and books scattered on the floor and so on. What kind of a government is this? Are they a bunch of Neanderthals? So yes, the funding for science should be restored, and the muzzling should be done away with, and they should have full access to the resources they need to carry on their most vital and important work.
So my whole career is based on data and the ability to make decisions based on data. Without data, governments can't make good decisions. They're making decisions based on what they think, not what they know. So the Liberal Party is committed not only to unmuzzling the scientists, but to also creating a new role of Chief Science Officer. And that Chief Science Officer, again, similar to the Chief Digital Officer as to digital, but the Chief Science Officer's role will be to champion those scientists, champion their studies, champion the data that they produce. And then we will be able to use that data to then form policies and frameworks working with the provinces, the First Nations, our municipalities to ensure that the new systems and the new plans we create are based on real evidence-based information, so that we can then put ourselves back on a trajectory to becoming world leaders. Right now, we make decisions based on ideology, and that has to go, because Canada is a nation of fundamentally knowledge-based, and we need to encourage that. That will also lead to more innovation. It will also lead to more opportunity. So unmuzzling the scientists is just the first step. That needs to be done. That's table stakes. The establishment of a senior role that's high profile to create championing for that, again, that's the next thing. But the third thing is that science needs to be embedded in our culture. So we need to make sure that every single thing that we do in government is based on data.
So Andrew Verrier was the first one who actually, at least I heard, first time used the term evidence-based decision-making. Andrew Verrier, as you know, is a Nobel Prize laureate, together with Al Gore, and a scientist. I think it is a shame that the government felt that the need to muzzle scientists and eliminate scientific archives for the good. So that is really lost important data. And it fits actually what the Conservatives did by eliminating the long-form census. Following McLean's article, there are now smaller towns and they are supposedly eliminated from the map because the participation was below 50%. Now the Conservatives will always tell you, but yeah, you know what, it's voluntary, so what we did was we wanted to give people the option to participate and not force them. All wonderful. But what it does is it actually puts communities at jeopardy. And so there's a great danger. And if you want to go ahead and actually see how we can go forward in this nation, we